Explosion murder.
I'm gonna say that one's a little too violent.
Oh, what do you mean?
Why don't you be Explosion Boy?
Shut up, weird hair!
Oh my gosh, no. You gotta do it like this. That's what I'm doing!
Captain Forrest here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win, more often not in a cross-verse situation. Yang from RWBY versus Bakugo from My Hero Academia. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also huge shouts to HQ Squad, massive shouts to the team, they've been a huge help in my videos. Also a huge shout out to Sonic Speed, he also helped me with some of the Bakugo research, so huge shouts to him. And of course shouts to Frisk as well, he also helped me with some of the AP stuff and bits and bobs for Yang too. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get right to meat and potatoes of things. I'm going to talk about Yang, then move over to Bakugo, and then conclude and give my thoughts near the end of the video. So, in order to determine where Yang would range in terms of attack potency, we must address some of her feats and scaling. Yang and Blake were capable of defeating one of the members of the Ace Operatives, like Elm alongside Yang. The Ace Operatives are General Ironwood's elites and are heralded for their remarkable abilities and performance in combat. In fact, they demonstrate their abilities and power against Penny, as they are able to damage Penny in combat. This very same Penny is strong enough to push Amity's ship into orbit, which was calced around the small city level ranges of attack potency. We can take this a step higher for Yang folks. There is also a direct feat performed by Yang herself, where she one-shots and completely destroys a meteor. Due to the meteor being completely incinerated, this feat was calced around the 1.7 megatons of TNT up into the 10.53 megatons of TNT, which would equate to small city level and up until the city level ranges of attack power. And if we include Yang's semblance called Burn, which doubles her attack potency when she takes damage, this would further double and increase the calc, which would move it up to the 21.06 megatons, which is still city level but just higher into the tier. Now there is a way to get this feat past city level. So in volume 3, Adam was able to one-shot and amped Yang with his sword, which would require more than double the attack power to do so, which would pretty much round up to 42.12 megatons of TNT, which would be really high into city level. Now we're getting more higher into the tier. And then of course Moon Slice is the attack that is shown to be comparable to Yang's semblance according to Blake. So his sword basically works like Yang's semblance, so the Moon Slice attack dishes out double the damage when his sword absorbs attacks. Now Yang goes on to get stronger in the later volumes, and this is shown in volume 6, where Yang is able to withstand Adam's amped Moon Slice attacks and is able to physically hurt him. Near the end of the fight, Yang is able to one-shot Adam with her semblance boost, so if we do the math again, this would pretty much mean it would be up to around 84.24 megatons of TNT, and obviously doubling that due to the amp, this would pretty much amount to 168.48 megatons of TNT, aka mountain level, which is pretty crazy. Your girl Yang's pretty strong. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to speed. So Yang is able to react and tag Adam in combat. This very same Adam has his own speed feat where he's able to react and block a particle beam. This feat was calced around the 42% the speed of light, aka relativistic speeds. We can get Yang even higher, as Yang and the rest of the team of RWBY all do battle and contend and react to Cinder and her firestorms, which is very impressive. Cinder herself has shown to dodge Penny's laser beams. The first one was calced around the 11% the speed of light, aka relativistic speeds, and the second laser blast, which was calced around the 1.95 times the speed of light, which is FTL. Then we can get it higher. Pyrrha herself has her own feat, as well, as she was able to pretty much react to Penny's beams with relative ease, and this was calced around the 3.33 times the speed of light, aka FTL. So we have some really good ranges of speed for Yang, especially in the relativistic and the FTL ranges. Speed, very nice. So that's going to round up stats. I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about something in the verse called Aura. Aura is the very power source in RWBY itself, generated from the user's soul aura. For all users in RWBY, form a passive force field around them to defend against attacks from opposing targets. Aura can be used to make localized barriers to block attacks, as shown by Ren. Aura can allow the user to heal from injuries, such as Jean healing a scar on his face. Neon was able to heal from her black eye, and Weiss, after being aura amped, healed from being stabbed in the torso, and judging from the spot where the javelin spear was thrown, it more than likely pierced through her liver, so it was able to even hit. Aura can even heal things like that, which is pretty pretty impressive. In Volume 6, Episode 1, this huntsman was able to heal from his arm being twisted after being aura amped by Jean. It also provides resistance against heat and cold environments. Characters like Yatsuhashi and Neon withstood a geyser's air pressure, which can reach approximately around 210 Fahrenheit, which is very hot. Characters like that, due to their aura, can be protected from harsh heats, like that's enough to burn your skin. Flint's aura can also withstand the stream of lava, which tends to have a temperature of 2200 Fahrenheit, so there's some really good decent heat resistances due to natural uses of aura from all these characters. Now, projected aura can also allow them to survive the cold tundra of Atlas. Without heating or projected aura, the cold of Solitus can kill you within a matter of hours. In the world of Remnant, it showcased it was so cold it froze most Grim instantly, meaning absolute zero temperatures. The aura can even be argued to be able to withstand temperatures even to those degrees, which is very cold. Absolute zero temperatures can instantly freeze things. That touches the atmosphere, of course. So there's some really good things you can take it far with the auras in RWBY. So that's going to round up aura. I'm gonna go ahead and move on and talk about Yang's semblance. So Yang's semblance, called Burn, lets her absorb kinetic energy from every blow she takes and uses it to make herself more powerful. This is a form of kinetic energy absorption, with Yang subsequently redirecting said energy against her opponent. Yang has the ability to absorb energy from the damage she has also taken, and she can pretty much just redirect it with twice the force, effectively making her stronger with each hit. She can also save up the energy to use later for an even more devastating attack. When using her semblance, she draws power from her hair. And that's going to round up Yang's semblance. Let's talk about her weapon of choice, called Ember Celica. These dual range shotgun gauntlets are matching metallic bracelets. When activated, they fold out into gauntlets with protruding gun barrels. Inside, there are chambers that holster the cylinder, consisting of 12 shells, giving the weapons 24 shots in total when both gauntlets are fully loaded. A silver barrel is concealed in the front of each gauntlet, aligned between the knuckles of the index and middle finger. The gauntlet's offensive function is rooted in creating pulses of raw kinetic energy, which activates the dust inside the shell, which emits flashes of light resembling explosions from them, and they are capable of knocking enemies back to great distances. Also achieved via Yang punching with her activated gauntlets, which projects explosive dust, which basically is used to perform physical damage to her opponents. Yang can also utilize the gauntlets in many ways. She can not only just use them in hand-to-hand combat, she can also use them for mobility and long-range attacks, as those shotgun blasts can travel toward the opponent from far distances. Yang can also use the blast from her gauntlets to propel herself through the air or toward an opponent, or to intercept or redirect an attack back at them via the shotgun blast, or blocking physical attacks with her gauntlets themselves. Later on, in Volume 7, we see Yang and her team gain upgrades to their weapons. Yang now utilizes explosive dust inside of her shotgun shells, which stick onto the target when she punches them. Yang recoils her elbows back, which activates the timer on them, and within a couple of seconds they detonate and blow up the target. In RWBY Arrowfell, which is also canon to RWBY, Yang gains an upgrade to her semblance and gains the use of a rare dust called combustion dust. Yang uses this to fire off blasts of atomic heat, which means that these attacks burn and affect things down to the atomic level. So that's going to round up Yang. Let's move on to the Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite, or in comprehensive terms, Bakugo. During the tournament festival, Bakugo faces off against Todoroki. Todoroki shoots out a giant area of effective ice at Bakugo, which Bakugo uses his howitzer impact in response to the attack. Two different methods were used to calc all of this, and both of these calcs work out to be 23 up to the 34 tons of TNT, which pretty much equates to city block level. There is another feat performed by Bakugo where he performs a howitzer impact during the World Heroes mission. This feat was calced around the small town level plus to town level plus potency of attack power. As for higher scaling, we can get Bakugo higher. There was a feat performed by Bakugo where he uses his howitzer impact and grenado brace attack on Liberation Warrock, All for One Shigaraki. As mentioned before, Shigaraki can withstand as much attacks as the high-end Nomus, which survive the Intercontinental Cruise Tiamat hitting them, which all these missiles combined produce multi-continental levels of energy, and even though the Nomu survived all 10 hitting them, it barely survived. So if we assume it can take at least one full explosive missile, this means that the Nomu would be around a fair end, would be at least continent level, and since Shigaraki is vastly above the high-end Nomus, Shigaraki would scale to the multi-continental ranges. Final Act Shigaraki also takes damage from a giant blast from Bakugo, so in terms of attack potency, currently Bakugo should range around the continent levels to the multi-continental levels of attack power. Very nice. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move onto speed. So Bakugo should at least be somewhat comparable or downscale from Deku in speed, and both Deku and Bakugo can tag All For One Shigaraki. Deku himself has shown some speed feats of his own, with Deku in his 30% up into the 45% ranges. He's able to fastly exceed his 10% self, who can dodge lasers, which was like calced around the 9%, the speed of light, and his 45% is just far faster, as he's able to completely outpace Gran Torino and several other pro heroes, the former of which saved 30% Deku and Bakugo from an attempted attack from All For One Shigaraki, who has comparable speed to weakened All Might, who blitz beings made out of pure light, which was calced around the 54% the speed of light. Deku at his 100%, he's able to completely blitz All For One Shigaraki, and his Fox 100% moved at the speed that is on par with Prime All Might, who's far faster than Murkrow, who's able to dodge lasers point blank, and this was also calced around the 45 times the speed of light, so really good ranges into the FTL. Overall, even if we include the 120% amp as well, Bakugo should at least downscale or somewhat comparable to Deku in speed, so he should easily range from like the very low ends of, you know, supersonic speeds, high hypersonic, easily a lightning timer. I've mentioned the lightning calcs before in my other videos, so check those out, and he can easily reach the subrelativistics, relativistics, and even the FTL ranges of speed, which is also nice. So that's going to conclude stats. Let's blast on over and talk about Bakugo's quirk. So Bakugo's quirk, called Explosion, he's got specialized sweat glands on his palms. They secrete nitroglycerin like sweat that he can also detonate at will. Although he can control the flow of sweat to an extent, his glands still retain their original function, meaning that Bakugo is explosively strong in the summer and a slow starter in the winter. The more he sweats, the stronger his quirk is. It's a powerful, flashy ability with no big downsides. This delinquent's future looks very bright. So the offside to Bakugo's quirk is if he uses his explosive powers too much or to its fullest extent, it can cause him to strain his muscles. To offset this weakness, Bakugo wears two gauntlets called the Rinnedom braces, which these things not only store Bakugo's sweat, but also amplifies the output and potency behind his explosions, but it also reduces the quirk strain. Certain other key features on Bakugo's suit is tailored for him and his quirk, such as carrying hand grenades, which contain Bakugo's sweat inside them. When activated and thrown, they can cause some serious damage. Now Bakugo can perform different techniques with his explosions. Bakugo can project explosions from his hands. Bakugo can perform giant explosive blasts and AoEs. Bakugo can perform his signature move called the Howitzer Impact. This move is the strongest move in Bakugo's arsenal, which involves Bakugo taking to the air and then using explosions to propel himself in a circular motion to create a tornado. The ensuing twister collects oxygen and momentum to fuel the subsequent explosion. Bakugo releases the enhanced aforementioned blast upon impact with the ground. Another version of this move is also called Howitzer Impact Clusters. Similar to his Howitzer Impact, Bakugo creates explosions to propel himself in a circular motion, gathering oxygen and momentum to fuel the subsequent and more powerful explosion. However, by employing the strafe Panzer and the cluster technique, he is able to perform this on a much more deadlier scale, as well as spray explosions in all directions, further adding to the destructive power. Bakugo can use an attack called Stun Grenade, where Bakugo creates a sphere of light between his hands that explodes into a large scale flash. Pretty similar to the effect of an actual stun grenade, the flash of light blinds anyone close by. Landmine Blast is a move where Bakugo places his Rinnedom bracer on the ground and lets a massive explosion blowing back any obstacles surrounding him. And Bakugo can perform a AP shot, which is a concentrated attack in which he fires a concussive beam which negates durability. His other variant is called the AP shot autocannon, an AP machine gun in which he fires out a barrage of small concentrated blasts at his opponents, and the other version does the same, except Bakugo rains down bigger blasts. And lastly, Bakugo has shown tremendous skill with his quirk. He's used his explosive powers to maneuver around the battlefield or in the air to fly. He can also use Cluster, which is a aesthetic, sparkly explosion where he boosts through the air with his explosions at rapid speeds. So that's going to round up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in a cross-verse situation. So there's going to be, I guess, like 2 rounds, I guess. So I'll use like low-end feats and then like talk about, you know, both current characters and who would win more often than not. So of course we have Yang. She would easily range around the small city level to mountain level levels of attack potency. Now if we use like the sports tournament, like Bakugo, that version of Bakugo had like city block level feats. He easily has, you can even argue, some city level feats for him. You know, easily has some small town to large town level scaling or town level plus scaling. There's some really good calcs even back then. However, if we only stick to these levels, Yang would have the AP advantage, and back then those characters in terms of speed, they can easily range from the relativistics easily up until the FTR ranges of speeds if we use the other speed scaling that I mentioned in my previous videos of the My Hero matchups. So I think they're pretty relative when it comes to speed. I don't really see a speed blitz if we only use like Bakugo back then, before he does the old crazy stuff in the, you know, the Liberation War arc and final act. I think Yang would pretty much have the AP going in. She's more skilled than Bakugo, so if there was to fight, she'd pretty much curb stomp in terms of like the AP ranges, you know, mountain level versus, you know, like town level, you know, city level. It's just paltry in comparison, and I definitely see her like charging in, using her semblance as well, because if Bakugo starts performing explosions and they start scrapping, she's going to start eating those explosive attacks from Bakugo, and that's just going to further make the gap even worse. So that's an extra, you know, times, that's an extra double increase into her attack power. And then when she's ready, she's going to pretty much see how Bakugo fights. Bakugo's pretty much, he's kind of a spurg, but he's not completely stupid. He does have some type of battle IQ about him, but this won't be enough. He's going to get grabbed, and then he's just going to literally get one shot by one gauntlet punch and the concussive blast from her shotgun. So it's just going to one shot there. However, if we're talking about current stuff, we're going to include his current feats, you know, with the Liberation Arc stuff, especially against All For One Shigaraki, then the tables are pretty much turned. He would completely one-shot Yang, unfortunately. You know, continent to multi-continental levels in comparison to mountain level. Very paltry. Now, me and Frisk also spoke about some higher AP for the RWBY team. Like we found some high-end stuff. However, it's still not enough. There's some potential island level stuff maybe, but it's just, that's still paltry. It's just Bakugo is just way too strong. And even if we talk about the speed, they both have FTR reaction speed. If we go off quantification, Bakugo would be higher into it. He's easily like, you know, 40 plus, you know, times the speed of light, you know, compared to Yang's, you know, 3 times or 1 times or borderline 2 times the speed of light. It's kind of slow. And Bakugo, especially if he uses Cluster to get in close, if he uses Howitzer Impact, and if Yang tries to get into a explosive battle with him, she's going to get outshined and she's going to completely get vaporized, which is unfortunate. Now, there's another thing you could argue for Yang, which is her atomic heat explosives. You know, her attacks and how her attacks work, they burn you on an atomic level. I think that could definitely affect Bakugo, even if he does have the current AP edge. However, it's pretty irrelevant since Bakugo, he does have the slight speed edge if we're including the higher ranges and the higher quantification of speed. So more often than not, I have to give victory to Bakugo. If we're talking about current Bakugo, way too strong, a little bit too fast, and just completely above Yang's pay grade. But if we use lower end feats, if we use like Bakugo back in like the, you know, sports festival, when he had like feats of like city and some town stuff, I think Yang's just going to completely body slam him if we're going off that regard. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoy my videos, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. It's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.